Dober fantasy players and fantasy football fans. Thursday night football will start up NFL Week 15 with the Denver Broncos going to the Indianapolis Colts. Here are the players we recommend to start and sit on your Dober fantasy play cards for Thursday night football. The correlation between Denver's wins and CJ Anderson's touches is remarkable. In the Broncos' 4 victories this season, Anderson averaged 24.3 touches for 106.8 yards from scrimmage. In 9 Denver losses, he averaged 11.7 touches for 50.2 yards from scrimmage. It's clear that the Denver offense is better when the ball is not in the hands of the quarterback. The Colts are giving up 22.9 Dober Fantasy Points per game to running backs this season, one of the worst marks in the NFL. This sets up to be a big game for Anderson, and he should have no trouble getting over his projected fantasy point total. 2017 has been a lost season for Emmanuel Sanders. He's averaging fewer yards per game than he has in any season since 2012, and he has battled through an ankle injury. Sanders has tallied more than 8 Dober fantasy points in just 4 of 11 games that he has played. In 4 games since his 6-reception, 137-yard game on Sunday Night Football against the Patriots, Sanders has a total of 8 receptions for just 54 yards. He hasn't scored a touchdown since Week 2 and is being held captive in a terrible offense led by a disastrous quarterback play. With the Broncos' revolving door of lousy quarterbacks, it's hard to imagine Sanders doing anything of significance on Thursday Night Football. When considering how poorly the Colts season has gone, it's frightening to think of how much worse it could have been if they hadn't brought in Jacoby Brissett before the season. Last week's torrential blizzard aside, Brissett has eclipsed 12.5 Dober fantasy points 6 times, while averaging nearly 14.4 Dober fantasy points per game. With solid weapons like T.Y. Hilton and Jack Doyle at his disposal, we're targeting Brissett on Dober play cards this week. It's amazing how effective Frank Gore has been in his age 34 season. After handling a career-high 37 touches for 140 yards in the snow last week, Gore's expectations need to be significantly tempered on a short week. Earlier this season, we saw a similarly aged Adrian Peterson handle 39 touches for 166 yards. 4 days later, he turned 22 touches into 42 yards and lost a fumble. Compounding Gore's issue of the short week and heavy workload is the matchup against a rugged Denver defense. The Broncos have given up just 1,020 yards on the ground this season, 8th fewest in the league. We expect Gore to fall far short of his projected fantasy points total this week.